Hello and good evening. It's good to see everyone tonight. As this pandemic drags on, I'm noticing that I'm feeling more and more lonely. And Sangha is one of my happy things. So it's good to see people tonight. I was listening to a talk a while ago, and in the talk, there was a recounting of a question asked of Robert Aiken. So this is kind of a third-hand paraphrase. And Robert Aiken was asked the question, what is a being? And he answered, a quadratic equation. And this is in the context of the Bodhisattva vows. Beings are numberless, vowing to free them all. And what is a being? This quadratic equation. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around that a little bit. But what struck me was a follow-up question to that answer was, how do you save a quadratic equation? And Robert Aiken answered, by including it. By including it. So tonight I want to talk about inclusion and accessibility. When we include all beings, what does that mean? What does that mean when we are sitting on the cushion or laying on the cushion? What does that mean when we are washing the dishes, going to work? What does that mean when we're engaged in daily activity? Does it mean different things? And if we include all beings, is it possible that these are different things? Zen teaches us that during meditation, everything that comes up doesn't get pushed away and doesn't get grasped onto. There is room, there is space for whatever it is that comes up. This is sometimes very difficult. Sometimes we scream, no. I know I have. No, this isn't going to be included right now. This isn't going to be included today, and it's not going to be included ever. But our work is to look at that more deeply and look at that reaction that we have and make some room for that reaction. Include our reaction, include what came up to cause the reaction, include what comes after the reaction. And by making this space and including, we eventually create a sense of belonging for whatever comes up in the moment. Belonging is something that I've also wrestled with for a little while. When I walked into Zen Center for the first time and I looked around and it was quiet and it was kind of sparse and there wasn't a lot going on, yet there was still a warmth, and I felt like I fit. I felt automatically included. This is my experience of this. And I know from also my experience that it is not everybody's experience when they walk into a Zen center, that they feel like they are included in what's going on. But I felt over time, and it was a short time, that this is where I belong. This is where I am supposed to be. There is room for me here. And that is great. And that is a great feeling. But when I go a little bit past the feeling and I think about what is it particularly that causes a feeling of belonging, a feeling of inclusion. If I can include all beings in reality, how can I cultivate an environment that they can belong? And of course, my more analytical mind goes back to the dictionary and looks up belonging. And some of them are a little off the mark and some of them are a little closer. Chumminess is a little off the mark. Closeness, familiarity, okay, we're getting there. Intimacy, that's really close. Nearness, and here's one that might be a little more down our Zen road: inseparability. The opposite of distance. I feel like I fit in the space that has been made. And when happy feelings come up, at least I've been acculturated to make room for those. It's automatic. And when negative feelings come up, it's also automatic to close that room down and say, you don't belong here. But our bodies kind of know what this belonging is. Our bodies know, if we listen to it, when we go to some place, whether it's at work, whether it's at home, a shop, just somewhere that we've been, that we know that this is where we belong. And if we pay attention to that, we can start to kind of suss out what it is that makes us feel that way. There's a resonance, there's an acceptance. So where is it that you might have this sense of belonging? Do you have this sense in your own skin? Do you have this sense when you forget your skin? Do you have this sense when you're driving? Do you have this sense right now in this group? Do you feel like you belong in the group? And this sense of belonging, I'm so curious about, because people may not have that sense of belonging in a Zen center or in a group. So how do we cultivate that? How do we include that? How do we make space for everyone that wants to be, that just wants to be? Zen practice, going back to that again, teaches us how to make this space by including it. And if we make the space interiorly, I think that I've seen that we make this space on the exterior. But we need to make the space interiorly for all things, all opinions, without judgment. I have gone the last few weeks really judging some people about whether they should stay open for business or not, or whether they should wear masks or not. And it's very painful for me to cut off this section of the population and just say that I don't understand them and that they don't count. And that's really not our way. And it's very difficult to include everyone without needing to understand them, without needing to understand ourselves. Can we include them? Part of inclusion, I think, is accessibility. And this gets a little bit more to my situation tonight. Late last week, for seemingly no reason or very little reason, my back decided it didn't want to play anymore. And it causes me some pain. Okay, what do I do in the moment? I take care of it. I know if I rest, if I maybe take some ibuprofen, maybe some ice, that things will settle down and things will get back to normal soon. They didn't get back to normal soon, and I'm still kind of here. So as I'm laying here, because whatever happened with my back is aggravated by sitting in a chair, any kind of upright position, I can only tolerate for a few minutes at a time. I tried to tolerate a little more today, and I have been told by my body that it did not tolerate that too well. So as I'm laying here, I'm thinking, wow, this is weird. Meditating laying down. This is weird. I have to give a talk. I should be doing that from a cushion or a chair at the very least. And I've had many discussions with my teacher, Ted, with my partner, Andrea, about what is it that we need to practice? What is it that we're doing here in Zen? And what are the requirements that we need to do this practice? Who gets to be a part of this practice? Who gets to be included? Do we need great insight? I hope not. I didn't come to Zen with great insight. I came with great pain. Do we need bodhicitta? The awakened mind? Well, I hope not that too, because I didn't come with that. Do we need a temple? Do we need a cushion or a chair? Do we need a bell? We have wonderful, wonderful forms in this tradition. And I'm a bit of a traditionalist in that way. These forms are very helpful to me. They're meaningful to me. But these forms are only helpers. They're only aids in dropping off the ego self and realizing the end of this delusion. So what is it that we need? And I remembered a story that Ben told recently in The Hidden Lamp. I'm only going to read part of the story because it's the part that's relevant for tonight. Chiona was a servant in a Zen convent who wanted to practice Zazen. One day she approached an elderly nun and asked, "I'm of humble birth. I can't read or write and must work all the time. Is there any possibility that I could attain the way of Buddha, even though I have no skills?" The nun answered her, "This is wonderful, my dear. In Buddhism, there are no distinctions between people. There is only this. Each person must hold fast to the desire to awaken and cultivate a heart of great compassion. People are complete as they are. If you don't fall into delusive thought, there is no Buddha and no sentient being. There is only one complete nature. If you want to know your true nature, you need to turn toward the source of your own delusive thoughts. This is called Zazen." So a servant that can't read or write has the desire to awaken. I was listening to another talk by Norman Fisher, and it was particularly about priest formation in the West, about the requirements to become a priest. And this applies actually to all practice. This applies to all levels of dedication, because there is There is no people. There is no distinction. There is no lay or priest, casual, one-time practitioners. It doesn't matter. Norman Fisher said it is a matter of heart, not skill or talent. I think this is the only requirement, the only thing that is necessary to do this practice. And we get caught up on the forms or what it's supposed to look like or what we're supposed to do. And this can take forms that are almost overlooked and forms that might be very harmful to people that want to do this practice and yet are barred from doing it, either by social pressure, their own expectation, whatever it is. We have a building remodel at Zen Center, and we are putting in first floor bathrooms, and we're putting in that are handicap accessible, and we're putting in a graded slope and a handicap spot so that people that are physically unable to navigate stairs can come in the building. And this is after almost 50 years of being in the building. And currently there's a sign out front that says, "We welcome everyone." And I'm wondering if the stairs are a different sign than the "We welcome everyone" sign. And I wonder what role I've played in not being accessible to everyone that shows up. Have I done something to make somebody feel bad because I think the forms should be followed? I think I have. I think I have not included somebody else's perspective and somebody else's reality and made that place of belonging to me, a place that is barred for them. So what other things can we find that may seem or may be seen as barriers to somebody coming in? And I've talked about this with several Dharma friends. And there is great debate about the kind of people that Zen attracts or our Soto Zen attracts. And I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's because we're not making enough room for people to be themselves, for people to be different than who they are. And I wonder how much pressure I put on myself to be different than who I am. How inclusive am I being to myself, to my reality, to actual reality, and to others? Am I including everyone? I know this talk had many questions that I did not answer because I don't have an answer. And I posed many questions. And I hope with our small group tonight that we can open up our mics and share our experience and share your thoughts about where you feel you belong, what belonging is to you, how inclusive we are in the world, and what kind of accessibility are we allowing in ourselves and in our surroundings. I think that's what I have tonight. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you, Jeromy. Just a great